नेटवर्क जो है दैट इज बीइंग मैनेज्ड बाय द डायरेक्टर कंप्यूटर सेंटर, वो क्या है कि इतना बड़ा नेटवर्क है वो कि स्टूडेंट के बेड तक, जो स्टूडेंट का कमरा है वहां तक वाईफाई की कनेक्शन है। हर लड़के को उसके हॉस्टल में उसके कमरे तक वाईफाई का, यूनिवर्सिटी का जो वाईफाई अपना है, एंड दैट इज फ्रीली अवेलेबल टू हिम 24/7, ताकि वो अपने एकेडमिक एक्टिविटी में इन्वॉल्व हो सकें, पढ़ सकें, घर पे हो तब भी। द मोमेंट ही मूव्स टू द कैंपस, कैंपस में तो वो नेटवर्क अवेलेबल है ही वाईफाई का। अपने अगर डिपार्टमेंट में आते हैं तो वहां वायर्ड भी है और वाईफाई भी नेटवर्क है। जितने स्टूडेंट्स हैं सबके पास अपना ईमेल का अकाउंट है, अपना वाईफाई का अकाउंट है, एंड ऑल सच काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स आर बीइंग मैनेज्ड बाय कंप्यूटर सेंटर। इसी तरह से हमारे यहाँ मोर देन 1600 टीचर्स हैं, स्टाफ्स हैं, मोर देन 4000 टीचिंग सपोर्टिंग स्टाफ्स हैं। इन सब के पास अपना अपना ईमेल का पासवर्ड है, अपने वाईफाई का पासवर्ड है, एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर बीइंग मेंटेन्ड। आप जैसे ही कैंपस के अंदर आएंगे आपको एक्टिवेट मिलेगा वाईफाई का नेटवर्क, यू कैन सिंपली लॉग इन टू द सिस्टम, और या अगर आपके सिस्टम पे पासवर्ड दिया हुआ है तो अपने आप वो कनेक्ट हो जाएगा आपका डिवाइस, एंड यू कैन freely use this Wi-Fi or the network which is provided by the university. Apart from that, यूनिवर्सिटी के जितने डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं, ऑफिसेज हैं, यूनिट्स हैं, ये सब फाइबर ऑप्टिक के थ्रू कनेक्टेड हैं कंप्यूटर सेंटर से। तो कंप्यूटर सेंटर इज हब ऑफ ऑल सच काइंड ऑफ यू कैन से ICT रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज, और दैट इज बीइंग, तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि एक छोटी सी दुनिया है सर जहां पर हम वेल कनेक्टेड हैं, इसको मैनेज कर रहे हैं। तो आपने अभी पिछले डिस्कशन में सुना होगा कि लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस आर देयर। हमारे केस में भी, यानी यूनिवर्सिटी के केस में भी डेली बेसिस पे देयर आर लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस। कभी हमारा वेबसाइट हैक हो जाता है, कभी नेटवर्क डाउन हो जाता है, ए लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस आर देयर, एंड वी कीप ऑन फाइटिंग विथ ऑल सच काइंड ऑफ थिंग। उसको तुरंत हम लोग अब भी कर लेते हैं, ये भी कर लेते हैं। तो ऐसा नहीं करते कि उस डर से हम लोगों ने उसको बंद कर दिया है। फर्दर मोर आप जानते हैं कि 25 स्टूडेंट्स है, तो स्टूडेंट को जानते हैं बहुत एक्टिव माइंड है। आजकल का स्टूडेंट हम लोग से फार फार बिहाइंड है इन टर्म्स ऑफ IQ और इन टर्म्स ऑफ यूजिंग द गैजेट्स। उनकी जो नॉलेज है बहुत ज्यादा है। तो आप देखेंगे कि वो दुनिया दहां का साइट्स जो है इतना यूज करते रहते हैं, ये करते रहते हैं। बहुत सारे जो, कहने का मतलब है कि नहीं भी यूज करना चाहिए वहां भी जा रहे हैं, जो फॉरबिडन साइट्स यू कैन से, वहां भी वो देख रहे हैं। जहां से उनको कुछ मटेरियल मिल रहा है, सीखना चाहते हैं, दे कीप ऑन गोइंग ओवर देयर। अच्छा, अब हम लोगों के पास या डायरेक्टर साहब के पास एज एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर एक टूल ऑलवेज है कि वो चाहें तो टेक्नोलॉजी है, एक फायरवेल नाम की टेक्नोलॉजी होती है, उसको एक्टिवेट कर दिया, अब कोई लड़का बाहर नहीं जा सकेगा। बाहर का मतलब बाहर की दुनिया से कनेक्ट नहीं होगा, अंदर जो भी करना है अपने कैंपस नेटवर्क पे जो भी चाहे एक्सेस करना चाहे, मूडल एक्सेस करना चाहे, वेबसाइट एक्सेस करना चाहे, यूनिवर्सिटी के और 50 पोर्टल एक्सेस करना चाहे, सब कर सकता है। लेकिन बाहर की दुनिया से वो कट गया, हम ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हैं। दो दिस इज द सॉल्यूशन। बहुत आसान सॉल्यूशन लगता है कि सर वो तो उसको बाहर की दुनिया से आप काट दीजिए। इट इज जस्ट लाइक कि आप एक छोटे से बच्चे को क्या करते हैं कि सिक्योर रखने के लिए, कि देखिए बाहर तो एक्सीडेंट भी हो जाता है सर, धूप लग जाएगा, हवा लग जाएगी, बाहर किसी बच्चे के साथ खेलेगा तो बिगड़ जाएगा, उसको घर में बंद कर दिया आपने। बोलिए हमने तो इसको सेफ्टी के लिए बंद किया हुआ है। नहीं, आपने उसको सेफ्टी के लिए बंद तो किया, लेकिन यू आर जस्ट हैम्परिंग द ऑलराउंड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट। वो स्टूडेंट का ऑलराउंड डेवलपमेंट उस बच्चे का नहीं हो पाएगा। सो सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ थिंग इज देयर। हम जान रहे हैं कि नेटवर्क में अगर जाएगा, बाहर की दुनिया में जाएगा, बहुत खतरे हैं, लेकिन हम उसकी प्राइवेसी को, उसकी आजादी को हैम्पर नहीं कर सकते हैं, तो हमें खोलना भी पड़ता है, उसको छूट देनी पड़ती है। इस क्रम में कभी कभी हमारा वेबसाइट हैक हो जाता है, कभी कुछ और हो जाता है, तो उससे हम लोग घबराते नहीं, ये हमको मान के चलते हैं कि सब होता रहेगा। हाँ, वी डू हैव द सिक्योरिटी मेजर्स, वी कीप ऑन monitoring and keep on doing the accounting related works of all these devices and everything। तो हमारा मॉनिटरिंग का सिस्टम भी है, ये भी है, करते रहते हैं। जैसे समथिंग अनयूजुअल हमको लगता है, हम उसको फिर ठीक भी करते हैं। हम बताना ये चाह रहे हैं कि द मैन बिहाइंड ऑल सच काइंड ऑफ थिंग, जो कि प्रैक्टिकली डे बाय डे बेसिस पे इन सब चीजों को, इस तरह के चैलेंजेस को फेस करते हैं, वो डायरेक्टर साहब आपके साथ पिछले 2 सेशन से हैं, आज भी रहेंगे। तो हम आपसे इतना अर्ज करना चाहेंगे कि यू जस्ट मेक दिस सेशन इंटरेक्टिव वन, और उनके एक्सपीरियंस से आप फायदा उठाइए। तो देखिए कि इन सब चीजों से कैसे, डरने की इसमें बात नहीं है, डर करके बंद नहीं करना है। हम नेटवर्क का इस्तेमाल खूब करें, लेकिन कुछ उसमें से क्या है, कुछ प्रिकॉशंस हैं, कुछ सावधानियां हैं, कुछ डूज हैं, कुछ डोंट्स हैं, उसका इस्तेमाल करें, उसका ध्यान में रखेंगे, बाकी सिक्योर एंड सेफ है। तो डॉक्टर साहब के एक्सपीरियंस का आप लोग यहाँ फायदा उठाइए, एंड आपसे बहुत सारी चीजें शेयर भी करेंगे वो, कि किस किस तरह की हम लोग फायर फाइटिंग डेली बेसिस पे करते रहते हैं, और ये होता रहता है। व्हेनेवर यू आर ओपन टू द नेटवर्क, ओपन टू द वर्ल्ड, अ लॉट ऑफ सिक्योरिटी चैलेंजेस विल बी ऑलवेज देयर। लेकिन उसका मतलब है कि हम उसको बंद कर देंगे, ऐसा नहीं होगा। तो डॉक्टर साहब इज देयर एंड he will go through his slides. After that you can be open with him with question answer session, और उनसे जो उनके experiences हैं उनसे आप कुछ सीखें. So thank you sir, thank you Parvez bhai, and I'll request you to please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Professor Asim Zafar Saab, who is the convener of our website committee, and he's handling IT from the on the application side very widely. He is also the coordinator of our AMU center in AMU and so many other committees. So he is involved in thick and thin of use of technology. So thanks for your time. So, are my slides visible? Can participants confirm, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Quite visible.
Kindly stay muted, and so we'll continue where we left yesterday in terms of use of technology for enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness in various walks of life. But our discussion is focused on teaching, learning, and research, so we'll focus on that. Yesterday we had talked about an example that technology is all pervasive in our lives, and we use technology in our personal life very effectively. I gave the example of the train ticket, air ticket booking, etc., that we are using very effectively in our personal life to solve some problems of waiting, problem of optimizing time utilization, etc., Likewise, we can also use technology in our teaching, learning, and research excellence. So that is what we will try to look at, some of the concepts as well as tools that we have available to us as faculty members, as researchers, as research supervisors. So we all know that there are some published results that speak about the effectiveness, or what is called cone of experience. So in order for us to use technology in our academic and research life, there has to be certain ground rules. So the ground rules have to be very clearly set by the institution. For example, if you see the image right now visible on your screen, there are two people seem to be talking to each other, or shouting at each other, or deliberating with each other, mentioning their own perspective. For example, if you see the diagram right now available on the screen, it is 9. So the person.
The slide is not moving. So slide चल नहीं रही है. It's not moving.
Slide is not moving. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Just a minute.
Now it is coming. Now it is coming.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir. Now it's okay.
So you can see here on the slide, which is visible right now on your screen. What is the title of the slide? Can somebody read out for me?
Why ground rules?
Absolutely. So when we are using technology, there has to be some ground rules to be set in the particular institution, because there are some ground realities as far as technology is concerned. So ground rules have to be set very, very clearly. For example, if I give you an example, suppose we'll take the example of online classes that we all had been used to during the corona pandemic compulsorily. So what happens is, there is different faculty members or different institutions may have their own ground rules that they would like to set in the course of instruction delivery or course of their teaching learning process. For example, if a student is late in the class, I'm talking about physical classes. So there are two possibilities. One teacher or one particular institution or certain faculty members in a particular institution will say, sorry, I'm not allowing any latecomers because it's a matter of discipline. So stay out. I will not allow you. He is right. He is perfectly fine. He is not allowing, but there could be some students who might use that as an excuse to skip the classes. So the other faculty member may say that, fine, if you are coming late, I will make you stand for 10 minutes in the class and then you sit down. But if I don't allow you in my class, he will go and roam around here and there, and he will cause self-inflicted injury to his academics. So let me allow him or her and express my displeasure for coming late, but still I will allow him. Some teachers may allow students walking in 10 minutes before the end of the class. thinking that, you know, this fellow is not that sincere. If I don't allow, he will lose even that 10 minutes of learning. So there is nothing very particular right or wrong here. It's basically what are the ground rules that the faculty members set or the research supervisor sets, and what are the ground rules, how they are perceived by their students or their mentees or their research scholars, etc., etc. So ground rules have to be very clearly set, and this is precisely what UGC also has done. When UGC brought out the SWAYAM credit framework, they also said that up to X percentage, let's say 20% or so, for credit through SWAYAM courses, but then the specifics have to be worked out by the individual institution. So the ground rules are very, very important when it comes to use of technology or blending of technology into the curriculum, into the formal curriculum part, whether it is theoretical courses, whether it is lab courses, whether it is research curriculum or research methodology curriculum or practical research. So the ground rules. Point to here to be taken away from the slide is there could be different perspectives. As you can see in the diagram, both people are talking about their own perspective. The person on the right hand side of the screen, he is looking at that image as 9. So he is saying it is 9. The person on the left hand side is looking at 6 and he is saying it is 6. Both are fine. Both have their own perspective. But the objective of this diagram should be to achieve the excellence. So if I take it as some ground rule for use of technology, the overall objective of a teacher is to enhance the level of knowledge and skill of his or her student, engage their senses into the learning process, and for that, whatever best the teacher can do will be allowed by the respective teachers or by the respective institutions. That is what I'm trying to say. So in order to understand it further, let us move to the next slide. So we all have heard about cone of experience. We all know that anything that we read, we only retain a portion of it. Say, let's say 10%. This is out of a study. So 10% of what is read ordinarily would be retained by our students. But if we also hear it, that means if we engage the hearing senses of the students, the retention becomes higher. So studies have shown that the retention reaches to 20% level. And when it comes to also seeing the visuals, the learning level gets enhanced. That means it gets up to 30%. So in the traditional model that I spoke yesterday, there was chalk and talk model, and the Guruji will only allow and write in the blackboard. So anybody gets late will be loser and will have to wait for the next year is no longer valid in the current scenario of 21st century learning or 21st century teaching and learning, where we do have the teaching aid of engaging the students' reading sense, hearing sense, and seeing sense also to enhance the level of learning that one can have. So if we blend all of them, we can achieve even higher. That means if the student can hear and also see, the level of learning will be much higher, which means higher level of learning and retention can be achieved through active involvement in the learning process for our students. Now let me take an example. Let's say there is a class where Galaxy is to be taught in the class. Now the student is going to get introduction to galaxies. Now what happens in the legacy model or in the traditional model, the teacher will walk into the class and draw a diagram of galaxy on the blackboard or whiteboard or green board, whatever is that. It will take few minutes, let's say 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And then the teacher will try to explain the concept of galaxy referring that diagram. Now, as a matter of fact, galaxy is a 3-dimensional diagram, right? Teacher, despite all his best effort, would draw a 2-dimensional diagram on the blackboard and would try to explain the concept of galaxy, which will still be partially understood because it is not possible to visualize galaxy with the naked eye. On the other hand, today, there could be a galaxy small video of 2 minutes or 3 minutes on YouTube or on any other open educational resources. If that video is played on our smartphone or on the projector of the classroom or whatever, or in the smart classroom, in 2 minutes, the concept gets grilled into the mind of the students very, very easily. and the time 10, 20, 30 minutes that the teacher spent while preparing that diagram on the board, and that also partially understood, can be done. So that is what we are trying to say. Today we have technology that can help our students enhance the level of understanding, enhance the level of retention, if we blend technology along with our curriculum. That's what we are saying. Now that means we have teaching aid available. Now teaching aid is not something new. Many of us would remember something like 30 years back when we were students, our teachers used to use a transparency projector or OHP projector, right? A transparent page will contain some material, it will be put on a projector, and that will be displayed. That was the story. Teaching aid available previously. Now teaching aids are always had been, whatever was the teaching aid of that time had been used by the teachers to reinforce what teacher is saying, and to help ensure that teacher's point is understood, and also signal what is important, what is essential, and also enables students to visualize those, experience something that is impractical to see or do in real life.
Sir, slide is
Now,
not moving, sir.
in the
Slide is not moving, sir.
just a minute.
Yeah, it's now teaching aids.
Okay, so in fact what happens is teaching aids had been there, but now the teaching aids are much more powerful with the use of multimedia technology, and this helps our students to visualize or experience that is impossible to see in the real life. For example, today the teacher can run a small open educational resource or a small YouTube video of Galaxy in 2 minutes on the class, on the projector, and that will grill the concept in the mind of the students very, very clearly, rather than explaining theoretically or explaining on a board which is two-dimensional. Now in a multimedia or in a small YouTube video, it's very easily possible to have some audio, have some moving objects, and have the Galaxy three-dimensional clearly visible on the screen. That will facilitate. So that means today's teaching learning process of 21st century has enabled the use of, so here is the transition that is happening. Is this teaching learning environment slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you see here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So you can see here that there was a traditional model where teacher's role was, focus was only on teachers, the learner was passive, and the technology in use was chalk and talk. This is what we learned when we were in our schools, and at that time this was the technology. Then came an enhancement called informational model, where the learners focus changes from teachers to learners, and the role of learner changes from passive to active, and there is a need of personal computer. Now that personal computer could be actually a desktop PC, it could even be a smartphone, because there is some computing power available in the smartphone also. So in that sense, that also is a small personal computer, handheld computer. So if there is some computing power available, there is some memory available, there is some RAM available. So that is the technology. So the user needs to have a device on which he can download and run those multimedia content, to go through the content and enhance his or her level of learning. Now then comes the third model, which is called knowledge model. Now if you remember our yesterday's example, yesterday I gave an example that in any class there are some above average students, typically 15, 20, 10, whatever percentage based on the spectrum in the class. Then there is a large chunk of average students, and then there are a small chunk of below average students. So if I divide my class into groups, this is one way of grouping the class. You can also group them in multiple ways, depending upon the nature, depending upon the need of learners. So you can classify them into different groups, and you can we as teachers can classify them in different groups, and then give them specific targets. Now here the learning becomes adaptive. So it becomes an adaptive learning or dynamic learning. The role of the learner becomes adaptive. So we can have groups where in each group we can have one above average student, a few of them average students, and a few of the below average students. and give them a common target and help make the students help each other come up with the assignments, do some presentation or do some upload into the learning management system or whatever. So we can always use the innovative method of making appropriate groups, and that group should use the technology of PC plus network, which means it should have the device plus it should also have connectivity through network to the national digital resources. Yesterday, we briefly touched one of the national digital resource called SWAYAM, SWAYAM Prabha. Today, we will touch a few more of them. We will showcase and those national digital resources, or for example, if the individual institution's library doesn't have the digital enough resources due to financial constraints or due to some other constraint, by having the knowledge model, student can connect to the national digital library and still can access all the resources available in the library of all such institutions which are part of the National Digital Library. You may be aware that there is a National Digital Library project undertaken by the funded by the government, where IIT Kharagpur has been the nodal agency, and it has all the participating institutions library are part of it. So a student from X institution can refer to the content available in the National Digital Library from which spreads across all other institutions. So that is the advantage that the adaptive model offers, the knowledge model offers, where the adaptive and dynamic learning is possible in the group. So that was unthinkable in the legacy model or in the traditional model, but it is very, very practically possible, and it is happening in the 21st century for teaching and learning environment. Now, how is the role of teacher changing? Now, teacher earlier used to be transmitter of knowledge. So whatever Guruji was saying was ultimate. So you have to respect what Guruji is saying. You have to write what Guruji has dictated in the class. That was the history. Now, teacher's role is changing to guider and facilitator of knowledge. So teacher alone is not the expert in the subject. He is actually also a co-learner. So instead of controller of learning, the role of teacher is changing to creator of learning environment. Instead of being always an expert, teacher is becoming collaborator and co-learner too. That is the transformation that is happening in the role of teachers in 21st century, wherein the technology component has been embedded or incorporated into the teaching learning process itself, but not only informally, but even formally by way of regulations like UGC credit framework for the SWAYAM, etc., etc. And likewise, institutions have their own. The academic bodies of the institutions has passed appropriate resolution that this is the way they will make sure that the technology is blended into the learning, right? So instead of learning to use ICT, it is using ICT to enhance the level of learning is the transformation in the role of teacher. This is happening. Now, how the curriculum itself is changing. Please note that earlier the curriculum was mostly focused on memorization of the facts. Now, that is no longer valid, because when we were in school, I remember questions used to be like, when was Gandhiji born? In which city Gandhiji was born, etc., etc. Who was? So those kind of questions in history. But today, these questions can be very easily answered by Google. So it is not the right type of questions in the current context. Instead, it should be based on scenario, like what would be Gandhiji doing if he is alive today? Now, this kind of an answer will not be available in the Google here. Inquiry based, so curriculum must change. Instead of memorizing facts, it should be inquiry based, so that students are compelled to use their inquisitiveness, use their analytical ability to write relevant answers, applying the knowledge that they have learned into the course. Likewise, instead of artificial teaching exercises, the curriculum is basically changing to authentic learning. Imagine a law student. Earlier, the law student would be learning in the class, and then after he or she passes out, he will go and join some senior lawyer or some senior advocate and get trained. Today, with the technology, even Supreme Court is doing live streaming of the hearing of the cases. So the learning is becoming very, very authentic, which means suppose Supreme Court is hearing a particular case and it is being live streamed, the assignment can be given by the law faculty members that you must watch this video, summarize your learnings based on this particular law, this particular interpretation, this particular judgment, this particular proviso, etc., etc. So this was unthinkable in the traditional model, which means our curriculum has to be properly revised to take care of the availability of these resources, incorporate them into the curriculum, so that by the time our students pass out, they are much prepared for global competition and they are much more prepared than what they would have been prepared in the traditional model, because things are changing, time are changing, the challenges are changing. So accordingly, our students have to be our products of the institution, which are students passing out from the institution, have to be prepared for the challenges of 21st century. So instead of rigid and fixed time and fixed space, the curriculum should be open and flexible delivery. Suppose some student is traveling, he can still do the assignment. While traveling, he can watch that live streaming of the Supreme Court or High Court or whatever. And I'm just giving one example. Go through the content and then he can upload his learning in a couple of pages summarizing, and he can upload directly into the LMS portal of the institution without being physical. That means it is truly, instead of fixed time and fixed space, it is becoming anytime and anywhere, which means now the concept of if you are late, Guruji's class you missed out, gone, come back next year, is no longer valid in the 21st century, which is basically anytime, anywhere is possible. And that's how it's happening. So instead of single path progression, the curriculum has got to be multiple. Now this is a lot of challenge. This requires a lot of reforms into the curriculum. And that is what these our, statutory bodies like UGC are, trying to emphasize, that even the NAC and those bodies which do accreditation, who provide the quality certification of the institutions, are also taking care of these challenges and trying to enhance the parameters on the basis of which the institutions are judged, right? So instead of single sense stimulation, multi-sensory stimulation is happening in the multimedia applications. And instead of delivery of information, it is exchange of information, which means if there is let me take the same example. If a case hearing is happening in Supreme Court or High Court, all students can watch, they can exchange their learnings and submit it on the LMS, so that it's actually not a delivery of information, but an exchange of information. Each student will have its own, level of learning, and he will have his own ideas, that he will have his own interpretation, and then they can exchange the information in the groups, and that will enhance the overall level of learning. So instead of monologue communication, it is becoming dialogue and collaborative communication. And from analog resources, transformation is happening to digital resources, right? So let's focus on national digital resources. Yesterday we talked about Sakshat portal, so we'll not touch base on that. We also talked about NPTEL. Now let us talk about vlab.co.in. There is something called virtual lab. That's another national digital resource. Typically laboratories, we all know that each experiment in any lab curriculum has got a learning objective. And in order to fulfill that objective, some experiment will be performed. There will be some material, some methods, some procedure to be followed, some results will be available. And based on the discussion of those results, some concepts will be reinforced, right? So this virtuallab.co.in is a website that what government has done is they have funded the project and made certain institutions virtualize their lab, so that 24/7 a weak student can also perform those experiments. Because in the college or in the institution, experiment time will be 1 hour or 2 hours. If a weaker student is not able to complete the experiment in that allotted time, he or she will try to copy from left and right, try to submit the report and get marks without removing the impediments in his or her conceptual learning. And in the next week, there will be next experiment. So this weakness he or she will carry forward, and he will have marks, he will have a paper, but he will not have good conceptual learning. So in order to remove this impediment, the virtual lab project was funded by Ministry of HRD, now called Ministry of Education. And lots of virtual labs are available in production, which means a weak student can go back home, run those experiments, enhance his or her learning. And even during summer and winter vacation, the lab staff can run those experiments. They are fantastically designed content. We will showcase that shortly. Then we have another resource called EPG Pathshala or IncludeNet, where lots and lots of content have been digitized, which can be referred by the faculty members, by the instructors, by the students in for assignments, for blending the learning with the national digital resources. Then we have SWAYAM that we spoke yesterday, and SWAYAM platform is there. So there are SWAYAM courses available and SWAYAM Prabha. All this we discussed yesterday. So let us, the last digital resource is ndl.iitkgp.ac. This is the National Digital Library. So in this National Digital Library, students from any institution can go and register and then start using the resources available in the national, which means if I am a student in a non-digital mode, I will only have an access to the resources available in my own institution's library. It will always be limited resources, right? So if I am using this national digital resources, then my capacity gets expanded so many times, and all such national digital resources which are part of the libraries of all participating institutions are becoming accessible to me right from my institution. So easy. So this is the advantage that has been made available to all the students and and all the faculty members through the national digital resources by use of technology. So coming back again to the original idea of concept of use of technology for solving the problem. So for solving the real world problem, we can use technology, and these are some of the examples of centrally funded projects through which we can use the available resources, good quality resources, for enhancing. Apart from that, there are much more resources that we will also look at when we get to the demo. So we will park the demo for last 30 minutes. For now, let's focus on some of the research, because we have talked about teaching and learning. Now let us talk a little bit more on the research support tools, because yesterday our discussion was very limited to research. So we'll try to focus more on so we are taking an example of a reference manager tool called Mendeley that you might be aware. A reference manager tool is very, very vital to any research scholar, because what happens when a research scholar starts his journey, initially he will read 1 paper, 2 paper, 3 paper, and over a period of time, the number of papers he or she has read will keep on increasing. So managing these increasing number of papers that he or she is referring physically is actually very, very challenging. But if we use a reference manager tool, the life becomes a lot easier. Mendeley is one of them. Mendeley is not the only tool. There are many other tools like EndNote, like so many others. But Mendeley being the free and open source, we have just chosen that. So it's actually a personalized document library that can be used by research scholars for collaborating their work with their research supervisors. It can be used anytime, anywhere. It offers very easy referencing, and it's also an academic social networking. Just like, people have, social networking sites like Facebook, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional social network. Through Mendeley, we can do an academic social network. So we will be looking at. So it's a very nice
slides is not moving, sir.
Just a minute. Slide is not moving. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
So basically, we have Mendeley as one of the research support tools, which is a personalized document library which can be used anytime, anywhere. And it has got different way of using it that we will discuss we have few slides explaining that. So it's a very good reference manager tool, and it helps us to have a social networking within the academic community, and it also helps us with the research collaboration. And it also has some very good features that has been recently added in Mendeley in past few years, which is called career development and funding opportunity. Now these two, career development and funding opportunities, they are very vital for many of the faculty members to look forward to. What are the funding or even for the researchers or even for the young faculty members to submit research, because often the institutions will be saying, get me some funds from the external funding agency, but where should I go and submit my proposal? I don't know. So how do I find out what are the funding opportunities? That is also available in real time through Mendeley. So we will look at that. We'll look at those examples, and they can be very vitally used by the research supervisors as well as research scholars. Now, why Mendeley? It's actually a free set of tools. Just a minute. It's a free set of tools meant to assist users with resource discovery, collaboration, information management, and citation. So actually, Mendeley was named after the biologist whose name was Gregor Mendel, and another chemist, his name was Mendeleev. So both of them actually were they founded Mendeley, and they were in London. That was around 2007 by three German PhD. So that means this product was born by the engagement of PhD students. So it basically takes care of a lot of PhD students need. And on a similar note, let me just share with you. Many of us use the Google, right? Hello.
Yes, sir.
We all use Google, right? But do you know how Google was born? Actually, what happened? This was again born by the efforts of two PhD students. So two PhD students in one of the universities in US, namely the Stanford University, they wrote an algorithm. They were the students of a School of Engineering in the Stanford University. And what they did is they wrote a page ranking algorithm, and they were also looking for some funding opportunity. So one fine day, one of the very rich business person came and wanted to meet their supervisor. So these guys thought that let both of us show our algorithm to this businessman. Maybe he will give us some fund, right? If he is happy with our work, he will give us some fund. So once this business person met the supervisor, and the moment he came out from the cabin of the supervisor, these two guys, they walked with him from the cabin of the supervisor to his car. And while walking, they showed the page ranking algorithm that these two PhD students had built. And this business person was so experienced that he realized the potential of these two PhD students, and he said, yes, I'll fund you. And then he took out his check from the dashboard of his car, and he wrote a check for some amount, these many $1 or $2 million. I don't remember the exact amount, but he wrote the check. These guys were very happy. And then he said, pay Google Inc. He said, I'm going to give you the money, but I'm not going to give it to you in your name. You register a company. And he also named the company. He said, pay Google Inc. He said, here is the check. Please take it. And then he walked away. And these two guys then subsequently registered a company. And then they are the major stakeholders in the Google. They are still alive. You can read their story in the Wikipedia. And in fact, then they later hired their supervisor also in Google. So I'm saying is the innovation, the good things are happening in the industry, in the academia. If industry and academia collaborate, we can see real solutions which are being used worldwide across the globe. So even the Mendeley was created by PhD students. So it's very, very relevant to the needs of a PhD student and the research supervisor. So that's what the first public beta version was released in August 2008. Right. So it's a citation manager similar to EndNote. So we have many other products called EndNote, RefWorks, Zotero, and so many others. which are also used for reference manager, but Mendeley has some distinct advantage. One, it is free of cost for up to certain space. Second is it's free and open source, and third, it offers a number of things, number of features which are very, very relevant to the academicians. So it is I would say all the faculty members present in the classroom can actually go and create an account on Mendeley, which is free of cost, and you can start using. Encourage your research students to create an account, start using it, and then manage your citations, manage your papers using the Mendeley. So that's you can start seeing the benefit it offers. Now it's actually a personalized document library, and it has got 3 types or 3 versions. There are more than one ways we can use Mendeley. One is called Mendeley Desktop. Now, Mendeley Desktop can be used offline as well as online, which means I can download a desktop version of the software, and I can install it on my laptop or on my desktop or in my home PC, and I can start using it offline, which means even if I don't have internet connectivity, all the documents filed in the Mendeley library can be used. But the moment I connect online, there is an online version. So any new documents added by me while traveling in the online version can be synchronized with my desktop. So I'll have those additional documents also available to me locally in my notebook or in my desktop PC. Then we have how do I get? So I can go and download basically from a website. I can go and download and install in my PC. While downloading, I need to choose which version of the operating system I have, what is the architecture of my machine, whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit, just like any other software. And then I can also do Mac OS. So if I have a MacBook, still I can download the Mac version of the desktop application of the Mendeley and install it on my desktop on my machine. And then if I have a Linux based laptop, even that is possible, right? So it offers all the 3 flavors of the common OS, right? So once I have installed, what I need to do is I will go and drag and drop, or I can do file, add files, or I can do file and add folders. I can also do watch folders and import automatically, which means if I have my papers, research papers is scattered in different folders in my laptops or in my desktop, I can all bring them, drag and drop them in the Mendeley library. And once I do that, I have got a very strong, organized method of handling those papers and then searching those papers, citing these papers. Lots and lots of features are available that makes the life easier for the research supervisor as well as research scholar, right? So I can do all of that. Now here is actually a screenshot of the how we can do. So we can go to Mendeley Desktop, then can say file and import, and then we can import the document also, right? Here is how we can add the files, right? And once we do that, this is the way it will look like. So we'll have the papers visible here in our library, right? We can attach different type of documents here. And some people even use it as a library for keeping documents that you might require while traveling, right? So some people do that also, putting their, scanned copy of their mark sheet or, their degree or whatever, that also they can create a folder and keep it. So it's a cloud storage on the online version. So some people do that because it's a password protected. So, okay. So then we have something called citation plugin. So we have a feature called citation plugin. So we can have an MS Word plugin or LibreOffice OpenOffice plugin, because when we write the research paper, we will be writing either using some Word text editor. It could be Word, it could be LibreOffice, it could be OpenOffice. So we can add those plugins into the Mendeley, and then we can start using that very, very easily. This is an object again of the workshop that we do time to time for the Mendeley. So we can install appropriate plugins and then we can start using those plugins for the citation. Now here is how, just a minute. So in the tools, you go to menu, tools, and then we can install the appropriate plugin, whether it is MS Word plugin, whether it is OpenOffice plugin, whether it is LibreOffice plugin. And in fact, we can also install a web importer. That means we can have a web importer. So as soon as we are searching on the web, we find anything, we can directly import it into our Mendeley account in the online version. And then subsequently, when we do syncing, it will also come into our desktop version. So that is the right. So upon installation of the plugin, we can view references tab in the MS Word, and it will be something like that, right? So when we are going to the references in our Word document, we can see insert citation directly here. So that's the advantage it offers, makes the life easier for while we are writing the our inserting inside text in text citation. So this is the screenshot of that. So all of that is possible when we are using the Mendeley, right? So we can insert bibliography, and it supports a large number of, because different journals will be asking different citation style. So if suppose a paper was sent to a particular journal and that journal did not accept and rejected the paper, and then the research scholar incorporates those comments, enhances his or her paper, and tries to submit it into another journal which has a different citation style, it in a very simple way, it can facilitate the change of style by using Mendeley. If it was to be done manually, it will be a lot of efforts and error prone. But if it is done through Mendeley, it is automatically, and it supports more than thousands and thousands of citation styles. So this is the advantage it offers, right? So here are the example of drop down. We can choose the citation style, whichever. There are thousands of them available. So whichever citation style is preferred by the journal being targeted for publication can be chosen from here, and then automatically the citation style can be changed with the few click of a mouse rather than any manual effort by the research scholar or the author of the paper. So that's the power it offers, right? Then we have full text search also available, and through which, suppose if we are searching COVID, and then this is search of all the papers within the personalized library of the research scholar. So this will search within the library. Suppose there are 500 papers filed in the Mendeley library. You want to search of these, my own library, how many papers are having COVID-19 or whatever, any keyword, you can search, and then you can cite those papers directly. So you can annotate, a lot of things are possible. So this is the advantage it offers, right? So then we can also do filtering of the documents available within the library, either by the author or by the tag or by the publication or by the keyword. All of that is possible. Now coming to the next version, we have a Mendeley web version. So what we discussed so far was desktop version. Now let's see the web version. Web version is only available in the online mode, which means we need to be connected to internet. So it's actually a Mendeley on cloud. So cloud version, we need a device, either a notebook or a desktop to connect, and a connectivity, which means directly we can log in. So the same user ID and password that we are using on the desktop version, with the same password on the Mendeley website, we can go and log in. And once we log in, we have the online version available. And in the online version, we can have the same thing, which means plus a few features are more there in the online version, which is not available in the desktop version. So Mendeley Web means access to web version of our own Mendeley library anytime and anywhere using a web browser and internet connectivity. Mendeley Web offers certain additional features like careers, funding opportunities, etc., with respect to the desktop version, which means careers and funding opportunities are not available in the desktop version. They are only available on the web version, right? And then we have a method of syncing. So just let me. So when we sync, so whatever is the content of the documents, now obviously the career opportunity and the funding opportunities will not come, but documents that have been added into the web version will get synced with the desktop version. So in our desktop version also, we will have all those documents that we have recently added in the web version, and vice versa. Suppose offline, we added 2 documents in our desktop version, which is not on the online version. When we do syncing, the new document added in the desktop version will also get synchronized with the web version. So that's the advantage it offers. Here is the sync action button. You can see here on the right hand side. So the moment you click on that while connected, it will automatically synchronize, which means when we are on our desktop version, we have to click sync. So it will initiate the syncing process. It will go and fetch the documents from online version, understand the difference and bring the additional documents, and vice versa. If there are some documents available in the so syncing needs to be initiated from the desktop version, right? Then we have web importer and citation plugin. So web importer allows quickly adding references to our library from anywhere. Suppose we are browsing through a paper. If I have added the web importer, then directly I can add that document into our online version. And subsequently, when we go to the desktop, we say sync, it will automatically come into the local version also, or the desktop version. Now, citation plugin is a plugin that we can install that allows us to create and format our citations and bibliography according to our chosen style. So that we have already demonstrated the. Right. So here we have the web importer. So on the browser, whether it is Chrome, whether it is Firefox, we can go and bookmark the Mendeley web importer. Right. So here are the examples when we have added. That's how it will look into our library. Right. Now let's move to the third option. Fortunately, we have a mobile app also. So we have a desktop version, we have a Mendeley web version, and we have got a Mendeley mobile app also. But this also basically requires online and a smartphone or a mobile for us to use this particular. So let's look at the mobile app version. So app developed for mobile devices allows the users anytime, anywhere access to the resources that they have collected, supporting personal preferences. Now for iOS iPhones, it is available for download from App Store, and for the Android phones, it is available from Google Play Store. So this is the brief about the mobile app, and we can actually use anytime, anywhere Mendeley either through the web app or through the mobile app. So this is the advantage it offers. It also helps us to create groups. We can create public groups, we can create private groups. All of that is possible, which means a research supervisor can create a private group and add all his research scholars, and they can exchange information, exchange papers privately through Mendeley login, which means the copyrighted material will not travel as an attachment to the mail, but will travel as a link. So securely they can log in. So this is much better, because papers, especially the paid journal papers, are copyrighted materials. They should not be exchanged over email without proper copyright, So if there is because somebody might download and they can also start using it. So copyrighted material, the terms and conditions must be respected. So make sure that we respect those terms, and this use of these groups on a private groups, they support the features that helps us to perform that in a much better way. We can also join groups. Apart from creating, we can also join groups. So using citation plugin, as we discussed while we were explaining the Mendeley desktop, the referencing becomes very, very easy. Now let us come back to the two features which is available only on the web, which is called academic social networking, right? So we can connect with the researchers worldwide through a collaboration. If we create our profile on Mendeley, then we can collaborate with the researchers who are doing research in the same field automatically. We can join some public groups, we can create our private groups, we can create, public groups and add them. So a lot of options are available. So Mendeley, in terms of the number of users, it is 6 million plus users. This slide was prepared, few years back when I prepared. Now the numbers would have gone even more. So it was 6 million plus users few years back. So it helps us to organize our research, collaborate with others online, and discover the latest research. So it also helps us to automatically generate the bibliographies and collaborate easily with other researchers online. And it also helps us easily import paper from other research software. So if there are some other library, from there we can export and import directly into our Mendeley library. Now, there's one thing that we had mentioned, that it offers a career opportunity for academic/research jobs. So let's look into how it works. It's available on Mendeley web, and if you go to the mendeley.com/careers, you can see here there are career advice, there are academic positions which is being advertised. We can go and create job alerts and subscribe to the particular type of jobs, and then alerts will start coming to me in my email as and when the jobs are posted. So it's very, very good. We can join groups, we can see what all is there in the online version for the career. So this is how we can avail the career opportunities on Mendeley web. Now we can also search for the jobs on Mendeley web, which means suppose a PhD student has done PhD under me, he is looking for a job, I can guide him or her to go and register. Obviously he would have registered in Mendeley. If not, then we encourage him or her to register on Mendeley and go through the career opportunities and complete the profile. And then here is how we can do. So you can upload the CV of our student and then ask him to search the job. So here, this is the search box. So right now what is visible on is it visible on the screen, career opportunities?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how we can help out, because often after the PhD is over, the student will be looking forward to guidance from his or her supervisor. And how do we proceed further for job and post PDF and post PhD research, etc., etc. So this is a very good source. This actually is available worldwide. So it is not only in India, but across the globe. Who are all the people doing research in this area? What are the jobs being advertised, etc.? All of that is possible. So we can classify the job by just a minute. So jobs can be classified by discipline, jobs can be classified by the job type, and jobs can be classified by the location. Suppose somebody doesn't want to move out of India. He says, I have some constraints, I have family problem, I have old parents, I am looking for a job, but I'm only looking within India. So he can also create an alert by location or by job type, that I'm looking for a PDF job, or I'm looking for an associate professor job, or whatever. So he can create by job type. He can also create by discipline, job in cloud computing, job in this particular discipline. So all of that classification is possible, and appropriate alerts can be created by the Mendeley user, right? So now let us move to the next topic that we discussed, which is called funding opportunities, right? So as far as the funding opportunities is concerned, very often in many institutions, there will be lots and lots of pressure to get some funds from the externally funded, external funding agency for research product, for research project, or for consultancy project. And this will boil down to the demands coming to the faculty members. Now, if many of the faculty members go and ask the management, sir, where should I submit? They will tell one or two things that they know. But God forbid, if they know these are the funding opportunities, if they know how many funding opportunities are genuinely available through this particular feature, they will be making the life much more difficult for all the faculty members, saying that now here are 23 opportunities, here are 400 opportunities. Please submit one proposal for in each one of them. So something like that. So then tremendous amount of research funding opportunities are available. It's only people don't know. That's why, we are struggling where to submit proposal. So funding opportunities are, if I want to see, you can see here, mendeley.com/research funding, right? Research-funding. You can here go and search for example, at that particular point in time, when we took a snapshot of the screen, there were 19,794 possibilities available.
Slides move nearer. Sir, slides move nearer.
Is it visible now? So
Yes, sir.
you can see here that mendeley.com has got the rightmost two things, careers and funding. You can explore that, you can search that, you can browse funders. There is you can see here, there's something called browse funders. So who are all the funding agencies? So there are governments, there are, NGOs, there are agencies. For example, if you remember, a few years back when we were in COVID pandemic, Oxford University did a lot of funded project for vaccination building, isn't it? So there are non-trivial problems to be solved for which the funding agencies will have its own thrust area. Any research proposal that is submitted in that area and they see a value after review, they will approve that. So through the due process of approval that may be there. So here is actually a very nice, real-time resource that maintains an index of funding opportunities available that can be utilized by the research scholars, research supervisor, faculty members who are exploring the funding possibility from the externally funded agencies beyond the funds available within the institution, right? So that's a very nice resource. I would urge all the faculty members to explore these features of Mendeley. Create an account for you if you have not already done. And if you have already done and not explored it for quite some time, please go ahead and update your profile on your Mendeley academic social network. Explore the funding opportunities and encourage your students to submit proposal. Encourage young faculty members to submit the proposal, to author proposal, get it reviewed by the due process of your institution, and try to submit these proposals. So coming back to the classification of funding opportunities, they are by the research areas and they are by the fund type, right? So there will be time-bound funded projects. There could be some, postdoctoral fellowship funds available where your student who has completed PhD can go and join PDF and, get some, post-PhD experience of postdoctoral fellowship, etc., etc. So lots and lots of opportunities are available that can be explored, right? So here is the screenshot area-wise. For example, medicine. This is a snapshot of taken at certain point in time in past. If you go today, you will find the current opportunities. So medicine, social science, arts and humanities, of different subjects, right? And then these are the subject plus we say view all research areas. All such research areas wherever funding opportunities are available will be visible here, right? And what are the fund types? You can see here: travel and conferences, equipment and facilities, artistic pursuit, prizes, contract, whatever, research and publications, fellowships, scholarships, programs, projects, etc., etc. So that's how we can classify the funding opportunity through fund type. So based on the fitment, based on the synergy, the proposal can be submitted to the funding agency. So with that, I would say we'll just summarize what we have discussed as far as the Mendeley is concerned. We have covered why Mendeley, and it's a personalized document library. It can be used anytime, anywhere. It is for easy referencing. It's for academic social network. It is for research collaboration. It's for career development, and it's for funding opportunity. So I suppose we have just taken one example so that at least you can start using one tool and you can encourage your PhD students or your research collaborators, your research students, or research supervisor also to start using this tool. This is free of cost. It doesn't require an investment. We can start using it. So with this, I'd like to conclude my slide part. Now we'll discuss more on questions and answers. We have got few minutes for discussion on questions and answers. So I'll just for now close the slides and let's move to the yeah. Now let us.
So I had one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Sir, does this mandate show funding related to Indian perspective also, or it is other than India?
It basically research area wise and research. It is research area wise and research and fund type wise that we have done. Now, some of the projects may be listed here. Apart from that, there are DST, there are so many other funding agencies within India that we already know where we are setting. This is over and above that. Some of them maybe you can look at the current funding options available in the real time and find out, right? Because it's a global social network of academics. This Mendeley is offering, right? Any other questions?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Please go ahead. Your voice is very faint. Kindly get closer to the mic and then speak.
Can you hear, sir? Am I audible?
Your voice is very faint. Kindly speak a bit loudly and get closer to the mic, please. Or else you put your question in the chat box if you have some problem with your mic.
Sir.
Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay, sir. Sir, I'm asking that this Mendeley, does it provide that funding for any conference? If I go for a conference, will
Yes,
it provide?
we have just now seen the slide where it says travel and conferences. So you can submit the proposal. In fact, lots and lots of organizations have some CSR or some targets. So you can submit your proposal by choosing the fund type as conferences and travel. You can submit your plan, and if the fund under that category, and wait for their response. They are very professional and respond.
And what is the process, sir? Actually, I don't know about this process. That means if I am applying for a project or I am applying for going for a conference, then what is the process to apply?
So what I'm saying is, there is a methodology which is being followed by most of the participants of the conferences as we speak. This is an additional option that can help you to provide certain more avenues from where funding possibilities can be explored, right? And they work very systematically and very transparently. So I would say kindly explore the possibility of submitting your proposal and you will see the response.
Okay.
Professional response on timely basis. Apart from that, different institutions have their own process of identifying, asking for applications, doing a scrutiny of the applications, doing funding, and they have time to time. Even in our own institution, we do get notices from our academic section or from some committees which are formed by the university administration for inviting applications for seeking fund for travel to conferences within the defined time, and then those are scrutinized by a committee. And there is a process in every institution.
Okay.
Whether it is up to the satisfaction of the faculty members or not is a different question. But there is a process. I'm saying over and above that process, we have got one more source where we can apply, because typically if university or the institution is not able to fund the travel of an individual researcher, and university gets to know, or the college gets to know, or the institution gets to know that this person has got the funding from some external agency, they'll be more than happy to allow. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying, from a third person's perspective.
Okay.
So it is an additional option to apply for the funding in real time. As whenever we need, what are the options available? Can I explore that? And it can be done in an online mode. So there is no hassle of traveling to somewhere and apply for an interview or something like that. You can apply online and you can communicate through mail, through, whatever. So if they require an online discussion, then online meeting can be joined or whatever for them as a part of their vetting of the applications, right? Any other questions?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, could you please highlight the limitations of Mendeley? Because I have used Zotero. So, what is the basic difference between Zotero and Mendeley?
See, Zotero you have used. In fact, if you want to use Mendeley, if you want to explore the difference, what I suggest is create an account on Mendeley, export export the content that you have on Zotero and import it in Mendeley and just see the difference yourself. Zotero, in fact, you can see the number of users, the community, the volume of the community using Zotero. So these comparisons you can do to see why Mendeley is used widely, right? So Zotero is also, I'm not saying that Mendeley is the only tool. I'm saying Mendeley is one of the tools. There are Zotero, there are paid tools like EndNote. You'll have to pay an annual subscription in case of EndNote. So there are many. Use of a reference manager tool is very helpful for any research scholar, for any research supervisor, for research process during the course of managing the references. So at least one should be used. If you are not using anything, start with Mendeley. If you are using anything, then you can compare with Mendeley. If you find it, better, easier, more effective, then you can move up to Mendeley. If you are using a paid tool, here is a free tool. You can always not renew your subscription and save that money and use it more effectively somewhere else by moving it to a free and open source tool. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Any other question? Otherwise, let me try to share my screen and showcase the some of the digital resources that we spoke, right? Is my browser visible? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is right now visible on my browser?
Google is visible.
Okay. So let me just go to vlab.co.in. Here is a website called Virtual Lab. We all know in our school itself, we would have performed certain experiments, right? We would have performed certain experiments, whether it was physics, whether it was chemistry, whether it was biology or whatever subject. And we would have had some, laboratory book or experiment book. We would have filled some observations, marks, etc., etc. So behind every experiment on planet Earth, there is a learning objective. The material, methods, procedures, marks, they're all byproduct. The main product is the learning and conceptual clarity of a concept that was taught in theory also, so that through this experiment, the concept gets strengthened, the conceptual understanding improves. That's the objective of every experiment. So for every experiment, there is a learning objective. And the rest all is a mechanical process, take beaker, add this acid, do this experiment, you can see this, what you have learned, etc., etc. So point to understand is, as we said, we students are of different categories. Some are very smart, they can do experiments very timely basis. Others are average, they will do some, they will miss some, they will miss understanding of the concept behind those experiments, but they will not explain it very clearly because they will feel insulted. So they will try to hide the impediments in their learning process. There are some who are very weak, who have decided, who have already given up mentally. They will say, no, hamare bas ka hai nahi, I will not be able to do. Let me copy and submit and get my passing marks. Here is the mindset of certain students. Now, how do we uplift the level of confidence, level of self-belief, and level of learning among the weakest category of our students in our class? With that, how can we make them believe? There are a number of things that we can do as a faculty member. And I'm saying so by having done some of them practically in my classes. I'll just share my experience, and I'm sure you would have certain relevant experience. Then the collective takeaways can be employed in our own institutions. For example, in today's education system, the direction is moving towards national benchmarking assessment, isn't it? Which means earlier we had every medical college taking entrance exam for MBBS, and a parent has to fill the form for his ward at 8-10 different colleges, take him or her to different cities for appearing in the exam and wait for the results, right? That scenario is no longer so. One exam, NEET exam, and based on the rank, you get admission, isn't it? So what is happening is the direction is moving towards national benchmark, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, or if you have a different view, please interrupt and correct me. So in the direction of moving towards national benchmark, what will happen is some of the students will give up right in the beginning itself, right? And what will happen is there is very less, self-belief. Now, I'll give you a practical example of my own batchmates. I had a batchmate in Roorkee. I had a hostel mate in Roorkee who is right now a US national. And I did my engineering between 86 to 90, 4 years. And I did my intermediate in 86. This friend of mine or hostel mate of mine had done his intermediate in 1985. So what he told his story, that he took an exam in 1985 for IIT. 3 hours he struggled to solve a mathematical question and he could not do it. After 3 hours, when he came out of the examination hall, he talked to somebody who showed how this problem was solved in few minutes. This hurt him a lot. He said, if this fellow can do, why can't I? And he decided, I will take 1 year break and I will compete my IIT. That IIT exam was, at that point in time, was totally subjective. There was no objective. It was totally subjective exam. So in 86, he qualified. He did his BTech from IIT Delhi in civil engineering. And for his MTech, when I went for my MTech in 1990 to Roorkee, he was in my hostel. So he told his case study that I must thank that student who challenged me, and I got hurt, and I took a personal decision that now I will try my best to take up this challenge and solve. So otherwise, he was not believing in himself. He was thinking this question is very, very difficult, which means self-belief and self-determination is very, very important for students. Now, how can we as teacher enhance this self-belief among our students? Now, I'll showcase one example. I was teaching a particular subject in a computer science department or in one of the universities, and there is actually an exam called GATE exam for engineering graduates, which is called Graduate Aptitude Test in Engineering, which is again a national benchmark for all the engineering graduates passing out from any college of India. And that gives a percentile score that entitles them for taking admission in MTech with the scholarship. So when I'm teaching in my class, I am teaching a particular subject, let's say software engineering. So I'm telling the example. So the GATE happens in the second Sunday of the February every year, ever since I took GATE in 1990 and cleared GATE at that point in time. So this is the philosophy. GATE exam will happen on the second Sunday of the February, and then it's a national benchmark exam, no matter what. And based on the GATE score, you are entitled to apply for master's admission to institutions with the scholarship, etc., etc. So when I'm teaching that subject in my class, this subject will also is in the syllabus of the GATE. So while teaching in my quiz of the class, I'm giving GATE questions, and I'm mentioning that this question was asked in GATE so and so year. And when my student is able to answer that question, his confidence raises. He says, come on, this GATE question is so easy. I can do it in my quiz also. I can do. What I'm doing is I am targeting the GATE questions. I'm giving an example. So my students were able to feel more confident by being able to solve GATE question in their midterm exam and in their end sem exam. This obviously will be, when you start doing it, some people will laugh at it, that what are you trying to do? But don't worry. We are trying to build the confidence and enhance the level of learning in our students. So in that process, the students will start doing self-believing that it is possible. It's a question very similar to my quiz question in my class, and have a sort of question bank of, so there will be a little bit of contribution from the teacher side, that if I take all the gate questions related to my subject in last 10 years, solve all of them, and try to discuss with my students in my class and make them believe that it is not difficult. There are key concepts we have to apply, and here is how. So they'll start believing it, and then they'll start trying for it, because many students have given up thinking that it is beyond their reach, because of the lack of self-belief, lack of confidence, and lack of mechanism in the institutions to enhance the self-belief system, enhance the value in making wholehearted and committed efforts in achieving success. And it is those who believe that they can do will put effort. Otherwise, they'll give up right in the beginning. That is not possible for me. So I'm saying is, here is this particular digital resource, which is right now visible in the screen, is meant for helping the weak students, helping the institutions. For example, let me take the example of a particular lab. Now, this particular has computer programming lab. Let's say some student is weak in computer programming. I'm taking this example. There are so many other examples, not only computer programming, it could be whatever subject. So I can ask the student to spend some time to go through. So there is an objective. There are list of experiments. There are target audience. There are course alignment. There is a feedback mechanism. If my student is able to do that, let's say, if I want to, let's say pointers is a very conceptual concept in C programming. So generally many students struggle in understanding the concept of pointers. So I want to strengthen the concept of pointers in my students. So I'll say, here is some theory related to pointers. Here is the aim, here is the theory, here is the objective, and here is the pre-test. So before you take the proceed in the lab, here is some quiz. Answer this quiz, submit. It will give you pre-X-ray. Then you run the procedure, run the simulations, etc., etc. Call by value, call by reference, whatever. Because I'm just giving an example. So likewise, in that process, the student will find a very, very good quality material that will help him or her to remove the impediments in his or her concept, and then he or she can feel more confident. This will also help our lab staff to enhance their skill, because when it is the lab staff who are dealing with the students. If a lab staff himself has impediment in his or her concept, when a student asks question, the lab staff will shout back at the student, because he or she is afraid, because he or she has his own weakness in the concept, and he does not want this to get exposed to the student. So instead of doing that, because now every teacher is also a student, every lab staff is also a student, so there has to be a structured method. Now institution doesn't allow him to go out for training for 1 month to get this training, that training. That's practically not possible. So these national digital resources made available by centrally funded projects by the government of India through various projects are the key resources, good quality resources, through which our lab staff, our students, our faculty members, all of us can get benefited by enhancing the level of skills, enhancing the level of competency, and enhancing the level of competitiveness, creating a positive competitiveness among the students, so that they start believing and they start trying for it. So these are all some of the things that I wanted to emphasize, and I, upon using it, have found it very, very effective. When students start believing, they'll start trying, because we have to trigger we have to help them overcome their mental barrier of not believing in themselves, or not believing in making an attempt. It is better to try and fail than failure to try. So in order for us to make them try hard, try to be competitive, if anybody else can do, why can't I? That should be the belief. That requires a little bit of mentoring and grooming, and probably that is the reason why there is a concept of mentor and mentee, for personal attention to the individual students, counseling and removing their mental barrier and helping them perform excellence. Because when the students are able to compete at national benchmark, that will be good for our institution, good for the student, good for the teacher, and good for the country also. So with that, I would like to keep another 3 minutes for any question that participants may have relevant to the discussion what we have so far. Any questions? Questions arise with partial understanding. No questions means either everybody has understood everything or nobody has understood anything. So I'm hoping.
Thank you, sir.
No, sir, actually, my name is Aminuddin Ansari. I was actually applying this concept in the field of the economics.
Yeah.
And that is why I was searching the virtual labs for the economic science.
Okay, very nice. So
I found it on the net. There are several virtual labs for the economics subject also. So that was that's what I was taking.
Very nice. Let me mention you one thing. If you have an idea, see, let me again go back and open the virtual lab site. These virtual labs are created by the institutions. They are not created by the ministry. Ministry has funded the project. Let me just go back 1 minute. So if we go to virtual lab, you can see here, is it visible, virtual lab? Is it visible right now?
It is visible.
You can see here the participating institutes. So here are a number of institutions. There are IITs, there are non-IITs which are participating. So believe me, if you have an idea that you would like to have a virtual lab, please submit a proposal. The ministry will fund it after review and evaluation, and then they will ask you to set up a lab. Then your institution's monogram will come here. They will say participating institution such and such institution, and they will fund it. Your institution's name will come here among the participating institutions. So if a lab is already there, we can start using it. If a lab is not there and we have the expertise, we can use our expertise to set up a lab by submitting a proposal, and that option is always available under the program called NME ICT, National Mission on Education through ICT, right? So these are the virtual labs, plus there are so many other labs. There may be some, like we have SWAYAM platform. In fact, let me just mention to you, we have talked about national digital resources. Let me also talk about international digital resources in a couple of minutes. So we have so far talked about national digital resources, but there are institutions outside India who also offer these open initiatives. Let me open my browser and say ocw.mit.edu. Right. So we have reached to MIT Open Courseware. We all know what is MIT. It is always among the top institutions, and they are offering open courseware that our students, our staff can avail and utilize. Likewise, we have Stanford Open Courseware, we have Oxford Open Courseware. So many of the good institutions across the globe. Here is an help and FAQ available. So I would say kindly explore the international digital resources also for making our students ready for the global, competence. So here are we can have material, we can search material, lots and lots of options available. For example, here are the, lots and lots of courses being advertised, previous, next, etc., archives, and the actual lectures being taught in these MIT or Stanford or Berkeley or Cambridge or Oxford, any of the universities. Many of the good institutions have open courseware, which means this is open to the rest of the world, and students from across the world can join and get benefited from these courses. So there are international digital resources also that we have not spoken, and you can explore these. So these open courseware are very good quality material. They can be referred by our faculty members, and then appropriate content from them, giving them the attribute properly, attributing the source can be utilized by, and we can encourage our students to use and be prepared for global competitive benchmarking sitting in the remotest village of India. That's the beauty. That's so again, coming back to the original concept, technology is a solution enabler. Technology alone can't solve the problem, but when it is blended with people and process, it can do wonders. So that's the concluding remarks that I have. Any questions? Any more questions? If you have, I think our time is almost over, but I will leave 1 or 2 minutes for any questions before I conclude the session.
Sir, what is the site name? Actually, it is little bit hazy. OCN.
Let me put it in the chat box. You can.
Okay.
In fact, it is called Open Courseware. This is MIT Open Courseware. Right?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir,
go ahead.
Yeah, I am Dr. Nilatpal Saha from Assam. Sir, my question is, since you have given some very good example of international open courseware, sir, if there, can you please give some international open digital library also?
In fact, they have plenty of them. They have plenty of them available. Open libraries are available. There are plenty of them. These very institutions have a number of digital resources made available that can. In fact, let me just. In fact, the word is moving towards open access. Let me mention to you. Since just 1 minute.
परवेज भाई,
Yes.
AMU वाला साइट दिखा दीजिए, उसमें जो स्टूडेंट सर्विसेज में एक पूरी लिस्ट दी हुई है ओपन सोर्सवेयर की पूरी, उसको ले लें। AMU के वेबसाइट, AMU में जाइए सर, स्टूडेंट सर्विसेज, बीच वाले कॉलम में ओपन एक्सेस एंड ओपन सॉफ्टवेयर, हाँ नीचे, थर्ड लास्ट सेकंड, हाँ बस इसको क्लिक करें, ये क्लिक कर दें, पूरी लिस्ट कंपाइल करके रखी हुई है, इसको कोई भी आदमी एक्सेस कर सकता है।
Right. So let me put the. I mean, I can put it in the chat box. Here is what I was trying to mention. We have got a directory of open access journals, because many people complain, I don't have access to journal. The trend is toward making the journals open access. That is why many of the good journals have also started charging some publication fee, which was historically not there. Historically, it was the concept that the good journals don't charge, and those journals who are charging paid journals, they are fly-by-night journals. But now, because of the access issues, many good journals have become open access. So in order to run and maintain, they have started doing some charging, and they are charging good amount. So here is how we can find 80 languages, 134 countries, 13,665 journals without any fee. That means we can straight away, and these many journals, these many articles. So this is the directory of open access journal through which we can search the research articles over and above what Professor Asim Zafar has mentioned. Because at one point in time, the exercise was done to consolidate, prepare, and upload. I think this had happened during the time of Corona. So you can have a look at it. National Digital Library is always on the top. Then we have SWAYAM and so many other. And we have a number of, you can see here, MIT Open Courseware is mentioned here at 49 serial number. Right? Then we have Coursera and edX and so many other things. Right? And it's actually multi-page document. It's a very nice collection. So you can avail this, right? Let me put it in the chat box so you can directly, if you want. I'm just hoping that you can directly download, right? Otherwise, you can go to AMU. Let me mention the path. So it is basically, let me go back. Let me mention this particular URL that might be easier for you. Just a minute. you can see the URL that I have sent just now, and there you will find a PDF link. Just click on that link and download the page directly. Is that fine? So the second one that I have put in the chat box at 12:36 p.m. Please download that. Okay, so I think I have already encroached into the time beyond my allotted or budgeted time. I'd like to thank you for your time and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
so much, sir.
Thank you, 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 sir.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.